Hey there everybody, Trey here and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to me. I want to talk about the 5 main reasons why you should maybe consider a career change into financial services. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on me for maybe some people that are watching this for the first time, don't know who I am or my background. So as I said before, my name is Trey Lansdell. I'm out here in Canada. I've been in the financial services industry for over 6 years now. I was a young boy. I grew up in rural Saskatchewan, which means nothing to like 90% of people watching this video, right? When I graduated high school, I did what everybody else did. You know, you can either go into the workforce or you can go into education. I picked education at the time, so I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to go up to the University of Regina in my home province of Saskatchewan. I'm going to go and get a degree in history, which was the worst financial decision I'd ever made up until that point. But you know, for me, I did it because I wanted to teach, right? I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to be a professor. And I had this like goal in my head, this vision that I wanted to be like Robin Williams from Dead Poet Society, like getting on the classroom tables and like yelling out like, how do I reach these kids? But, you know, I started to take a look around and I started doing that whole interview your future thing, where I looked at the professors in my life and I looked at the life that they were having and the careers they had. And I started using that as kind of a lens to really kind of figure out what my life would look like. And what I found out with all of them is they were all incredibly stressed out. Education at any level, especially in Canada, is incredibly stressful. It's hyper political. And more importantly, what I found out with a lot of them is that they didn't really seem to like their life. They all seemed really stressed. They all seemed really kind of unmotivated. A lot of them were just there because they were on tenure and they were all financially struggling. Many professors I knew were going off and getting side gigs. They were running Skip the Dish, things like that. So I actually backed away from university. I worked with Gov Canada for a little over a year for the residential school settlement, which is the largest class action settlement in Canadian history, to help survivors get compensation and things of that nature. And you know what? I liked what we were doing to help people, but for me personally, it was, I mean, I was 19 years old and I was finding gray hairs, right? So you can kind of figure out, you know, how I was sort of feeling about that. And their big way of thanking us was they laid 140 people off in a single day, and I happened to be one of them. And I lucked out, kind of. But the day I got laid off, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was having my little Reader's Digest moment, right? I was having a pity party over a glass of beer, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do with my life and my future. And the day I got laid off, I got a phone call and I got headhunted into financial services. And truth be told, if you would have found me at that stage of my life and said, Trey, one day you'll be in financial services, I probably would have laughed at you and like shouted you out of the room. Me personally, it was never something I ever thought I'd wanted. It just didn't appeal to me. I never really thought I'd be in finance. Are you kidding me? I didn't want to be a banker, right? I didn't know anything about money. The only thing I knew about money was how to rack up my credit card on the weekends when I was going out and partying. But I came out, I saw the company presentation. I took a little bit of a look at the industry. I did my research. I looked into it. I saw the opportunity that was here. And while at the time when I was getting started, I didn't really understand a lot of what they were talking about on the money side, I understood certain components of this industry that really appealed to me. Education, helping people. It was a noble industry. I saw an element here where, you know, I could have a little bit more control of my life and make a great income. And that's what really appealed to me. And now 6 years later, coast to coast across Canada, multi-provincial, about to start breaking into the United States, just my firm alone. And it's been a hell of a ride. And so for me, I just want to talk with you guys about some things that really appealed to me and why I think people should maybe take a look at making a career transition. And now financial services might not be something that interests you. It might not be a fit for you. And I think that's awesome. That's cool. Go find something that is a fit. Go find something that, you know, lights your fire and sparks you up and gets you excited. But what I also know on top of that is right now, 70% of North Americans are looking for a career change. And while financial services might be a fit for them or not, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least talk about the things that brought me into the industry and what kept me in the industry, and why 6 years later, 26 years old, moving to a different province, building a firm from the ground up, having my family in business with me, my partner in business with me, our kids get to watch them, mommy and daddy go to work every day in this industry, why I'm still here and why I'm still fired up and excited about this industry. So without further ado, I just want to touch on that. So I think there's basically 5 main keys why somebody should consider a career in the financial services industry. And here's number one. Number one is they get a hands-on education. Here's what I mean by that. I think that the problem of education and financial literacy has changed over time. I remember when I was a kid, the problem with financial education, and it still exists to this day, but it's different. The problem with financial education when I was a kid was that there wasn't any, right? How money actually works, how to save, invest, plan for a mortgage, kids, future, retirement, how to, what debt is, how to have good kinds versus bad kinds of debt, how to leverage, things of that nature. How money works was not ever taught. It wasn't taught in school. Certainly wasn't taught in post-secondary. By the way, if I had $1 for every finance graduate that came into my firm all peacocky and they thought they knew everything and they got humbled a week later because they realized they were unprepared and they never really learned anything, I'd already be retired. And it's not taught in day-to-day life. When I turned 18, the only financial education I got was the bank, and my family's financial advisor called me up. The bank just wanted to sell me a credit card and a line of credit and RRSP, which is a 401k if you're in the United States. And then my family's financial advisor just sold me $300,000 of Term 10 life insurance, never talked to me about why I needed it, never talked to me about its importance or how it was used, never talked to me about money or planning for the future savings. He just made his big fat commission and he rolled off. No education. And so I knew nothing about money. I couldn't even spell RRSP. I couldn't even think about the future. And I think to this day, we still have that problem. I think financial literacy and how money works is still wildly undertaught, but I'm noticing a new problem coming in. Not only is there a lack of true financial education in our school systems and in our day-to-day life, but I'm noticing an influx of over-information. And unfortunately, a lot of it is a bad information. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Hell, if I go on YouTube or Instagram, there's no shortage of these financial gurus pitching a course on how to become rich. And here's what you should do in the recession. And here's the crypto you should be investing in, and NFTs and Bitcoin and real estate, infinite banking. And firstly, it's impossible for people to keep track of all of that and wrap their head around it. Second of it, most of it is really bad advice. Thirdly, most of the guys that are talking about this stuff have never actually worked in the industry. They've never had clients. They've never handled someone's finances. They've never navigated someone through recession or down markets. So they have no idea what they're talking about. And so there's a lack of good information. And what I'm seeing now is there is an influx of really, really bad information, an overwhelming amount of bad information. And so I think now more than ever, we're in this really interesting time period where people, as a result of the last 2.5 years, are becoming more proactive versus reactive in regards to their finances. But unfortunately, they are not receiving good advice and they are being taken advantage of. So why would a career in financial services, whether it's part-time or full-time, help with that? Because at the end of the day, hands-on information, hands-on learning is the best way to learn anything. I don't know about you guys, but when I went to go learn how to drive a car for the first time, yeah, you have your textbooks and you have your learning and there's courses and all that stuff. And, you're in the classroom before you really get behind the wheel of a car. But I'm going to be honest with you, I did not learn how to parallel park by reading a textbook. I didn't learn how to drive by reading a course book or a manual. I learned by doing it. I learned by getting hands-on. And so for a lot of people, hands-on application, not only learning about how certain things can work in their own situation, how to get out of debt, how to properly invest, what the rule of 72 is, how to use different kinds of insurance and how to think differently about insurance by using it as an asset class, how to plan and save for the future, and what their financial independence number is, like how to properly have the right amount of dollars saved for retirement. Seeing how that not only works in their situation, but also in the situation of other people is invaluable. I think a world-class education can only be found through hands-on learning. That's why in some of the most demanding trades, they make you learn hands-on, right? In the trades itself, you learn hands-on through an apprenticeship. If you want to go become a nurse, you have to go do a residency, you do a practicum. You learn hands-on. And it's really no different in the financial services sector. You get matched up with a senior partner, you learn hands-on. And I think that's one of the best ways to learn. I think it is the best way to learn, actually, is by learning hands-on. Second point, it's the highest paid industry in the world. The highest paid industry in the world. And when you think about it right now, Most Canadians, I can't speak for the United States, but I can speak for Canada. Right now in Canada, 53% of Canadians, according to a Bloomberg and MNP Debt article released last year in 2021, with pre-COVID numbers, state that 53% of Canadians right now currently are $200 or less away from financial insolvency. You see, it's not just about getting rich. I mean, yeah, that's nice, and I'm sure we'd all love that, but even just having enough money to feel some stability, even having enough income to really feel like you're independent and you're not, going through each month going, holy crap, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to afford the mortgage or the rent? How am I going to put food on the table for my kids? How am I going to cover daycare, right? Daycare costs are insane right now. Hell, if you even want to get a mortgage right now and buy a new home in Eastern Canada, places in Toronto, you need $1 million for an average home. It's so far out of reach for the average person. It's unbelievable. And then we take a look at the financial services industry, which in the modern era has created more millionaires than any other industry in period. Ever. Bar none, hands down, made more millionaires than any other industry, period. And I look at that and I think about the era we're in and how people are struggling financially and they need more money coming into the household. And do I think everybody that comes into the financial services industry is going to become a millionaire? Absolutely freaking not. But I do believe that there's a shot. And the fact that there's a chance, the fact that there's an opportunity, the fact that it's possible, I looked at that and I was like, all I need is a shot. All I need is a chance. All I need is to know that it's possible. And that was what attracted me, right? It's not the pursuit of money, but it's the pursuit of what you can do with the money. Never having to worry about where that next bill payment or mortgage payment is coming from. Not worrying about how you're going to afford to travel. Most people, when they travel, they throw it on credit card. They're stressed the entire time because they know once they get home, they got to start paying the credit card off, right? Not worrying about how you're going to put food on the table. Not worrying about what happens if a health expense or a home scare pops up, right? In Canada, I mean, I grew up in Saskatchewan. It gets minus 40 every winter. Pipes burst and all of a sudden, boom, now you have an expense. And you either have the savings or you don't to pay it off. But truth be told, it's about 1/3 of Canadians even have the savings to pay off an unexpected expense, let alone float their boat for 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a time if they were without income. So being in a position where you can earn a high income is key. Is it about getting rich? No. But is it about putting yourself in a position where you're financially independent and you never have to worry about money? That could be a huge motivating factor for a lot of people. Point number 3. It's a recession-proof industry. It's a recession-proof industry. Now, look, here's what I mean by that. Look, I'm not glamorizing the last 2.5 years. I think we all kind of know what it looked like with lockdown and the pandemic and the last 2.5 years that not only people in Canada had to go through, but people throughout North America and the world had to go through. There was a lot of uncertainty. People were losing their jobs. Businesses were shutting down. And even though the market and the economy said it was doing great, most people didn't feel that way. Now, as we go into the back half of 2022, now it's really starting to catch up with us. Now there's even more uncertainty. Now there's even more doubt. Now people's finances are even more up in the air. There's CTV articles that I read all the time, which is a Canadian publisher and broadcaster for news here in Canada, where they said top economists are predicting that in the first quarter of 2023, we're going to move into a true recession. And I look at that and I'm like, what the hell were the last 2.5 years? What were the last 2.5 years? And so I understand that people are struggling. I understand there's fear and uncertainty and doubt. And I'm not trying to demean that by what I'm about to say next. But for people in our industry, unfortunately, and fortunately, based on your point of view, it's the greatest opportunity of a lifetime. It's the greatest opportunity of a lifetime. This happened in 2008. I saw a bit of it in 2016 and 17. I saw a little bit of it at the start of 2020. And now we're really going to see a lot of it in 2020, at the end of 2022, probably for most of 2023. Because in times of recession, guess what people start to think about? They start to think about their family. Do they have the correct insurance in place to cover them if they got sick or hurt, or even worse, if they died? They start to think about their savings. Do they have money in place to cover their income if they went without income, if they got laid off again, which is highly likely? They start to think about their retirement. Do I even have enough money to properly retire? And most importantly, they start to think about their own income. Are they even making enough money at the end of the day to make ends meet? And unfortunately and fortunately, in our industry, when people are struggling, when there's times of uncertainty, you have the key. You have the ability to help with that. You offer a solution to a problem that unfortunately many people do not cater to or think about until the problem is right on them. You see, when the markets are doing great, when the economy's doing great, when job rates are at their highest and people are making a good income and there's very little uncertainty, people don't think about their future. But when it starts to catch up to them, and now all of a sudden they have to think about, will they have a job? Will they be able to pay their bills? Will they be able to put their kids through school? That's when they start to think about these things, and that's when they start to become, unfortunately, more reactive than proactive. And the cool thing that I do like is I'm seeing the opposite of that right now. I'm actually seeing people be more proactive than reactive. And I think that's a sign of our times, but I'm happy to see that it's already happening now versus at the start of 2023 when it might get really bad. It might get truly, truly, truly bad. So what does that mean? Well, if you're in this industry, you have the opportunity to help a great amount of people. And as a result of that, you are going to make a great income. You're going to make an income that probably you've never made before in your entire life, higher than you've ever made before in your entire life. It's not something you should glamorize. It's not something you should glorify. It's not something that you should be super stoked about because frankly, if the industry is booming as a result of recession and market downturn and insecurity and uncertainty, that means there's a lot of people hurting. So do what you can, help people, take care of yourself, be rewarded for the good work you do, patch up every hole you can along the way. But remember that at the end of the day, these are people's lives. But in terms of recession, for people like us in our industry, oftentimes it is a blessing to know that we don't have to worry about that. Not only do we know that our income will increase, not only do we know that business will skyrocket, but I even think back to the last 2.5 years. I mean, when 2022 rolled around, in March, they announced that we were going into lockdown. I saw most of the industry stagnate. They went on hold. They thought that, in 2.5 weeks, we'd flatten the curve and then they'd finally go back to work. Some of us, we transitioned to virtual. We went fully remote. I was running a 6-figure financial firm from my kitchen table at home, right? Grew by 90% one year, 140% the year after. It is what it is. But the fact is, I never had to worry about would I have a career? Would I still be in a position to earn an income? I always knew that I was going to be able to make money. I always knew that I was going to be in a position to continue to pay my bills and put food on the table. And not everybody had that. That was a luxury that many people couldn't afford. But the fact of the matter is, it's probably coming again. And all the fear and all the uncertainty of 2020 is probably going to come back around in 2023, and it's going to hit way harder this time. Because I think we delayed it. I don't think we stopped it. And so that's food for thought. Point number 4, you get ownership of your income. And more importantly, you get ownership of your income streams. See, the thing is, in the financial services industry, unless you're like a bank teller or things of that nature, I'm going to let you in on how we get paid. Here's the deal. We don't get paid hourly or salary. Most advisors get paid a couple different ways. In my case, I get paid 5 different ways, twice a week, 8 times a month, possibility to be paid multiple different days throughout the week. It is what it is. But look, here's the deal. Most advisors in our industry, guess what? We get paid on the commission side for the business we offer, right? The insurance and investments and mortgage and debt relief that we sell, right? But we also get paid residually on our trails, which is the total dollar value amount of our clients' investments under our management. Right? We get paid every year on our insurance book of business from the renewals. We get paid bonuses, which is you get to participate in the profit sharing of your own agency. And then finally, you can build an agency. Now, not everybody in the financial services sector will build an agency. Not everybody's going to go out and do that. I happen to be fortunate enough that I'm in a company where I get to build an agency. I get to build a team. I get to have, financial reps that I get to work alongside. And the thing about that is when you have an agency, when you have a business, whether it's real estate, insurance, mortgages, whatever, when you have an agency, not only are you able to help more people, but you are also making more money as a direct result of that. We get residual income off the work of our firm, And the cool thing is, if you're in the right company, your guys can have what you have. right? They can hold the same contract as you. They can go out and start up their own agency as you. You got to make sure you're on the right lookout. You got to make sure that you take a look at the company that you might be wanting to get into business with. You might be wanting to get into bed with. And you got to ask yourself, can I have what my senior partner has? Or do I have to branch off, start up my own deal, poach a couple of his guys, and then go set up my own firm down the street? And now you're in direct competition with the guy who trained you. You see, fortunately for me, I never had to worry about that. I'm one of the lucky ones. But I recommend that that's something you take a good long look at. But here's the deal. Not only do we get paid all those different ways, we get to own that. Most advisors get to own it. You see, in my particular case, I can only speak for myself personally, and I don't mean this to brag. I have full ownership of my trails, right? I could quit tomorrow, walk away from the industry. I'll still get paid every single month from the work I've already done. I have full ownership of my insurance book. I could walk away tomorrow. Every single year I'll get a check, January 1st, for the insurance business I've already done, right? If I stepped away from my firm, the franchise is still running. The agency is still running. Revenue will still be generated. I have ownership of it. If I want to pass it down to my kids in 20, 30, 40 years, I can do that, right? And then they can pass it down to their grandkids. And I think of that and I'm like, there's not many jobs where you can pass down your job to your children. In fact, most people wouldn't want to pass down their job to their kids, which is crazy. You work at something for 20, 30, 40 years, and then you don't even, it's something you wouldn't even want to see your kids doing. Here, I mean, my kids get to see mommy and daddy get up and go to work every day, building something for them and the family. They get to see an example. And whether my kids ever want to come into my industry or not is entirely up to them, but they get to see an example. And worst case scenario, I get to pass it down to them, residually a business that'll pay 20, 30, 40 million dollars a year, right? It's unbelievable. We have ownership of that. And I don't know if it's how I was raised. Maybe it's a small town of me. When you grow up in a small rural town, everybody is entrepreneurs. Everybody's self-employed. Everybody runs businesses. There's no franchises. I did not grow up around Tim Hortons and Subways in my small town, right? I grew up around entrepreneurs. My mom was a good example of that. My mom ran 2 businesses full-time, self-employed. And so I looked at her and I grew up around the idea of entrepreneurship. So for me, maybe it's just hardwired in me, but I refuse to work somewhere for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, pouring blood, sweat, and tears into something to make another man or woman rich. That does not appeal to me. I want my name on the door. I want ownership of everything that I do. And here in the financial services industry, you get to do that. Not to say that you can't have that other places. Certainly you can, but here you can have it. And final point, fulfillment of purpose. And I know that sounds corny, but here's what I've tended to find. And I've been noticing this a lot more lately. I think the vast majority of people right now, especially after the last 2.5 years, are kind of waking up to the fact that they don't want to keep doing what they're doing. They don't want to keep working at that shitty job, pardon the term, but that shitty job that they don't even like. They don't want to keep plugging in hours. That's why we all keep talking about the great resignation and how people aren't going back to work, and more people than ever are starting up side gigs and small businesses, and they're creating new hustles. It's because people are finally waking up to the fact that maybe they don't want to be employees for the rest of their life. Maybe they don't want to go check in at that 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, just to get a paycheck that's not even guaranteed, when they could actually be pursuing something that they want to do. Now, again, it boils down to whether it's a fit for somebody or not. I don't know if I know for a fact, actually, financial services is not a fit for everybody. And truth be told, financial services should not take everybody. This is real people's lives. We were talking about real people's money, their goals, their dreams, their futures. There's a lot of people that would mess that up, truth be told. But fulfillment of purpose, why I say that, is because in my opinion, financial services is the most noble industry in the world. One of the most noble industries, certainly, if you disagree with me. But unfortunately, it also happens to be the most broken industry. It's the second oldest industry in the world, and half the country's flat broke and about to go bankrupt. Most people are struggling financially. More people now than ever have financial uncertainty. No people are really saving. People are scrambling. They're being taken advantage of. Half the country's flat broke. Most people can't even afford a home. My generation thinks they'll never even be able to own a home. And the industry that is a result of that is the second oldest industry in the world. They've been around for hundreds of years and they still haven't figured it out. So I think this industry needs new blood. I think it needs a new wave, a younger generation, a younger wave of leadership. The next wave of advisors and thinkers and leaders and entrepreneurs that want to come in and teach and educate and build and care for people. Because I think the industry's kind of broken. And I think it's left a lot of people behind. And the sad thing about that is because, like I said, it is a noble industry. You see, financial services, people get this idea in their head. They think financial services is just the industry of money. They think it's an industry of numbers. It's not. Financial services is the industry of people. It's people's dreams, their retirement, their ability to put kids through school. It's that dream house on the lake. It's all the extracurriculars they want to do. It's their ability to travel. It's their goals and their dreams. And you as an advisor help facilitate that and make them a reality. It has nothing to do with numbers, and it has everything to do with the person you're sitting in front of and your ability to relate to them and get to know them and find their problems and offer solutions and help them on their path and educate them and teach them. And when they walk out those doors or they hop off the Zoom call with you, they walk out better than they were before. That's what this industry means to me. That's what it can be again. But it needs to have that next generation, that next wave, that new blood. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I coach young financial advisors. That's why I teach people how to succeed in this industry, because we need that next wave. The average age of an advisor in our industry outside of our company is 78 years old. 78 years old. They're typically men, very little female. It's a tired old industry. And it needs new companies, new leaders, new thinkers, new people to come in and shake it up, because it is a noble industry. And it used to be, and it can be again. And I think it's starting to turn that way again, but it needs everybody. So with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, right? It's a topic that's passionate for me. This is an industry that I've dedicated my life to, right? My family's in business with me. My spouse is in business with me. Our kids grow up watching us in this business. This is not some fly-by-night thing for me. This is not something that I don't care about, right? My best friend is in business with me. I'm the best man at his wedding party. I met him through the industry in our company, right? Like this is my life. And I hope that it's something that for you can look at that and relate to and go, wow, this person's planted his flag. Wow, this guy's been here for 6 years and he's still fired up about this industry. He admits its problems, but he's still fired up about it. And maybe that relates to you, and maybe that resonates with you. And if it's something that you are appealed to or interested in, take a look at the industry. Find out some options. Take a look at some questions. Reach out to people that know about it. Get your foot in the door and start making a move. Because what I know for sure is that if you do nothing, the next 5 years will look exactly the same as the last 5 years. And for some people, that's a great picture. And I love that. For other people, that picture is terrifying. So don't let that be you. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
I will be the last to fall.